CityWorks Expo is a collaborative, co-creative, and multidisciplinary idea exchange and festival conference that happens each fall in Roanoke, Virginia. By day, attendees are immersed in thought-provoking presentations, riveting performances, and engaging dialogue. By night, the conference continues with after-hours networking opportunities during street festivals, parties, and musical events. To learn more about Expo, visit cityworksexpo.com. Expo 2014 was made possible by these fine sponsors.
We are a Southern bistro located in South Roanoke in the former Lipes Pharmacy space. We opened a little over 2 years ago in an old pharmacy that had occupied the space for over a generation. And I'm glad that the timing of our being able to talk is sort of serendipitous, because what is most exciting to me in my role as co-owner and helping put this thing together has been moving from the idea that was the focus of yesterday here at Expo, and then sort of transforming that idea into action, which is today's focus. The Ribbon Rail started as just a super simple idea, and that's, let's make great food for people in a really comfortable neighborhood atmosphere. I mean, we had no hopes of becoming Le Bernardin. You know, we weren't trying to cure cancer or create the iPad. This was super simple. Let's bring great food to people in a really great environment. And you know, the title of our talk is From Scratch, and not to torture the food analogy, but the greatest realization for me now, 2 years hence, is the key to going from a really simple idea to where we are now is the ingredients. And for me, in my role, the ingredients are the people. And so our story is one of people. And what we've learned is that a really simple, basic idea with the right people who share that idea and share your vision can become something really special. And nothing exemplifies that for me better than my first interaction with Aaron Deal. So we were 4 people who decided, hey, let's start a restaurant. 3 lawyers and 1 engineer. I can cook barely, and so we realized we need a chef. And so we started looking. We interviewed people literally all over the country, and nothing fit. There were some things that worked, some things that didn't. I felt like Goldilocks, and was talking to a friend who was really helping us form this vision and form this restaurant idea early on, and she said, hey, I know a guy. He's up north right now, but he's originally from Western North Carolina, and I think you ought to talk to him. And here's his resume. And I looked at it and I thought, you've got to be kidding me. This guy is not going to come down here and put up with a schmo like me and putting this kind of thing together. This is just not going to happen. And she said, Whit, just call him. And so I did. And our first conversation lasted about an hour. And we hit it off immediately, and I come to realize that this guy really wants to do kind of what we're talking about. And I was dumbfounded. And so it worked out that the following weekend he was going to be passing through the area, and so he came and stayed. And over the span of a weekend, what started out as our really super simple, totally unformed and uninformed idea became something really great with his input. Aaron moved to town, and we start working together each and every day, from early till late, sometimes way too late, putting this together and bringing more people, bringing more ingredients into this mix. And we had people come in, designers, architects, builders, and step down the road a little bit farther, June 15th, 2012, we opened our doors, and we are still plugging along today. And it's all because of the people that came together with a shared idea and adding their own input to that and fleshing that idea out into something really cool. But I come back to the fact that really all we're doing is serving food. We're serving really good, simple food to people in a warm atmosphere. But what I really like to step back and see now is how a really simple idea can really affect people. yeah, it may be just food, but since we've been open, people have come to the River and Rail to celebrate birthdays and baptisms, to mourn the loss of friends and family, or just to have a beer with a friend. And when I walk down the street and somebody grabs me by the arm and says, hey, we were at the restaurant the other night and had the best experience, thank you. Or even if somebody grabs me by the arm and says, dude, it was a little loud in there last night. I love that, because that is now community forming around something that we put together just now with friends. And so to me, it's all about the simple idea and the great ingredients. And for me personally, the chief ingredient among that is Aaron Deal, our executive chef and my friend. So without further ado.
Thanks, Whit. Hi, how are you all? Good morning. I'm glad you showed up today. Happy to be here. Thank you, Ed, and everyone with City Expo for having us. It was a late night at the restaurant, so if I shake a little bit or stutter, I've had a lot of coffee, so just bear with me. But, you know, just a quick introduction of who I am. My name is Aaron Deal. Originally, like Whit said, from western North Carolina. I grew up in a small town called Morganton. Some of you might have heard of it, close to Hickory. Big furniture area at the time. You know, long story short, you know, my culinary career really started in Charleston, South Carolina, where I went to Johnson & Wales University. I moved down there in order to go to that school, but also because of, you know, as some of you know, Charleston is a pretty big food mecca, at least now, and it really was then, if you look at it. But went to school there, spent about 6 years in Charleston, decided that, you know, I had big dreams. I wanted to see if I could make it on the big stage, so I moved to Chicago, Illinois, and took a job there at a restaurant called Custom House Tavern. We reconcepted that in the Printers Road district of downtown Chicago, for those of you familiar with it. Spent about 2.5 years there, and then, you know, again, looking to improve on my professional development, I ended up moving to Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I spent about a 1.5 years in Cambridge. And worked at a restaurant called Craigie on Main, for those of you who are familiar with the area. This restaurateur's name is Tony Moss, and he was a James Beard Award winner, really talented individual that I got to work under, so I was really excited about that. And all of that really kind of gave me the idea that, hey, I like being in the South. I like being in the Southeast. I like being where I'm from. I like the environment. I like the food. I like the culture. I like the cuisine. I like all of it. So I started to work my way back down here. And that's where the conversation started with Whit. Our mutual friend put us together, and we decided to open the River and Rail. We discussed the business plan, kind of went over goals that we had and different ideas, and here we are. Here I am in Roanoke. So I'm thrilled about it. It's been a really interesting experience and a very rewarding one, ultimately. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of hard work. And it's funny, we were talking about this, and I started to do some research because I wanted to kind of look at it. As of June, we just turned 2 years old at the restaurant, which is pretty cool, pretty big achievement for restaurants if you know that the failure rate's pretty high because there's a lot that goes into it. So as it stands now, we'll say as of June, we've served approximately, I'll say 52,000 people. That's crazy to me. 52,000 people in 2 years have walked through that door, possibly looked at that website, seen our Facebook page. Maybe about a third of those are regular customers, or regular guests, excuse me. And so you're looking at about 38,000 people. Well, if those 38,000 people went and told 1, 2, maybe 3 people that they were there at the restaurant, multiply that by 3, that's about the total of Roanoke County, population-wise, as of 2010. 100,000 people we got in front of in 2 years through our food. It's pretty cool. Sorry. Add that to my list of issues today. I spilled coffee on myself. We're going to say it was gravy, but... So that's pretty impressive. That's crazy to me. You know, almost 100,000 people have been touched by what we do, and they've came in a 70-seat restaurant, or they've checked out the website, or they've checked out the Facebook page. That's intimidating because you want everybody to have a great experience. That's the ideas. So how do we make that great experience at the restaurant? In my opinion, it's through 4 things. And this is kind of what we build our beliefs on, and it's food, value, service, and atmosphere. And I want you to think about it. When you go to a restaurant, If you enjoy it or you hate it, chances are some of those things aren't working in your favor. At the River and Rail, we shoot for 4 out of 4. Why wouldn't we? Unfortunately, everybody's different. Just like you may not appreciate, Lyle Lovett's 1987 album like I do. What was it called? I can't remember. It's a good one. Pontiac, thank you. Or you might like country music, or you might like hip-hop. All of that is up to you. And so food is the same way. So we shoot for 4 out of 4. I like to say if you aim small, you miss small. So if we only get out of those 4, 3, chances are we're still going to be successful. Think about the favorite restaurant that you go to. It probably has good food, probably has good atmosphere, probably has good service. The value might not always be there, but the value's in those 3 out of 4. It's when you start to run into the 2 and the 1 out of 4 where you see places fail. You see things fall apart. You see people leaving unhappy. So we shoot for those 4 things every day because I can't rely on what meal you had last night. It's about the meal that you're coming to have this evening. Okay? So that's a big part of what we do. Now, where I come in most commonly is the food part. I'm a chef. I'm a cook. I don't use the word chef a lot. There's unfortunately no bar exam for the term chef. Therefore, there could be a chef at Olive Garden. There could be a chef across the street. I could obviously tout myself as a chef, but at the end of the day, I'm a cook because that's what matters. What the food tastes like is very important. We want it to be consistent. So when we talk about food in that aspect, I could go on all day about it because I'm passionate about it. I love it. It's what I do all the time. And so we want to make sure that our food is consistent, that it tastes great, that the season's right, that it's hot, all those things. So when you come in, that's one of those 4 that lead to you having a positive experience at the restaurant. One of those 100,000 people we talked about, or 50. So what does from scratch mean to you, or me? At the restaurant, we like to say that we do everything the hard way. And unfortunately, let me rephrase. We do everything the right way, which unfortunately is the hard way. Nowadays, there's so many things available, so many prepackaged goods. I can get Hawaii tuna from across the country next day. It's not difficult. The opportunity to get these products is there, but we focus ourselves on this area. The River and Rail is a southern bistro. We're southern and French. And so that gives us the ability to focus what it is we source and what it is we present to you. So when you hear that we're a southern French restaurant, you walk in and you might expect to see a liver mousse. You might expect to see oysters on the half or a certain type of entree. Like getting back to what I was saying about everything being kind of done the right way but the hard way, if we're going to bring in, say, we'll use the ham sandwich analogy. I like to use this one. This one's good. So in order for us to make a ham sandwich, as opposed to someone, or say at a grocery store deli counter, you'd walk in and you'd say, hey, I want half a pound of XX sliced thin, right? That took a couple minutes. Easy for you. And for the manufacturer, obviously they're probably outfitted to do that in a large, quick volume scale. So for us, if we get a whole pig in, we'll source it from people we know just because we know what they've been fed. With that idea, that whole pig comes in and immediately the butchers at the restaurant, they get on it, they'll break it down. You end up with a ham, as we all know, the big piece of meat with the trotter or the foot hanging off. We'll clean that up, and then what we'll do, we'll wet brine it for, say, 7 to 10 days, depending on the size. So immediately you have the cost of that labor going into breaking down the animal. We then have to have the space and the ability to hold something like that for, say, 10 days. Once that happens, we'll either smoke it or we'll cook it. And you're talking about maybe a 2-day process there. And then when that finishes up, we can slice it, we can serve it, we can put it on a ham sandwich. So when you come in and you have ham for lunch, that's the process that we've gone through. And that, to me, is beautiful in its own essence because that ham has the flavor of those 4 walls. You're not going to go and get that same ham anywhere else. And that's that distinct characteristic that you find that maybe your favorite greasy spoon has because it's cooked on the same flat top, or you get the idea. So to us, that's a strong badge of honor about how we present things to you all. And not everybody knows that, because we live in a world where you can go and get half a pound of ham sliced in a minute and a half. So that's just one example that we use. You know, another example, all of our fresh seafood. We get all of our fish in whole. So I can look at the eyes, I can look at the gills. You can touch the fish. We know where it's coming from. We know the quality it was when it hit the back door. And all this comes around to the point that Whit was saying, is that we want to serve consistent, good quality food. And it just so happens that this from scratch method is what we've chosen to do. And it's what my belief system is built on, being a cook. So that presents consistency. That presents, in my opinion, a difference in flavor and taste and quality that you as a guest pick up when you walk in. And that, in my opinion, is what made us successful here. Because in a town where you don't find a lot of restaurants like us, there are people here who appreciate the value because of the time, the effort, and the quality that we're serving and presenting to you. So that's sort of my from scratch take, I guess, from my perspective right here. And, you know, to really say, well, the reality of it is we're only as good as that last plate we served. And that was the one that we served last night to the last guest. So with that in mind, there's a huge amount of work ahead of us. But we're excited to be doing it here in Roanoke, where we can make a difference and hopefully serve another 30,000 people. So thank you for listening today. We appreciate it.